Eighth graders, hello, and welcome to Chapter 7 of our geography textbook. So, what we're going to look at is what the United States and Canada is like today. A lot of this is going to have to do with economics, and a lot of this is going to have to do with our science. So, the first thing, economics. Economics is money, how people make money, how people spend money. So, both countries have market economies. Market economies are economic systems where the market decides price and worth and value of goods. Today's economy is a post-industrial economy. There is very little emphasis on heavy industry. Manufacturing has changed within the United States and Canada. Old cities that were famous for manufacturing have been renamed the Rust Belt. The Rust Belt. Many of these cities are places like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Buffalo, very high in the industrialized time period, but now not so much. Agriculture. Both the United States and Canada have booming areas of farming, the wheat belt and the corn belt. Transportation and communication. Transportation, communication. So the automobiles are the most common form of transportation within the United States and Canada. Throughout both of these states, or both of these countries, there is large highway systems that are integral to the transportation of goods, services, and people. The U.S. and Canada both have very expansive interconnected roadways. Air travel. O'Hare is one of the busiest U.S. airports, with Toronto's Pearson Airport being Canada's busiest. And cellular communication, along with digital communication like TV, internet, and social media, have made it easier to communicate. It has connected the world, and it's made both the United States and Canada able to compete at a global scale and spread their goods and knowledge throughout the world. Here's a map of the different transportation ways for for Canada. These are specifically railways, which you see one thing that's very common with the railways, which is very similar to the roadways, is that they're very close to the Canada-U.S. border and very rarely go up north very far. And this would be the National Highway System for the United States. Some of these, if you could look really close, would probably sound familiar, but the important thing is to understand that there are just so many, and that they're just all over the place. And you see, as you go from east to west, they spread out a little bit more with more room. Trade and interdependence. NAFTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement. In 1994, this agreement eliminated trade barriers between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and made it so that all three of these countries could trade without the taxes, without surpluses, without import and export agreements. Terrorism. Both the United States and Canada have begun to work together to combat foreign and domestic terrorism by sharing intel and working to prevent future attacks. So even though there's not been any major attacks in Canada, they're being proactive with the help of the United States to make sure that there is no terrorism coming in through Canada. So people and their environment. This is a very important part of this chapter, making sure that we understand how the United States and Canada and how the citizens can work with the environment to keep it safe, keep it healthy, keep us going. So managing resources. First, we have a method called clear cutting. This is where large forests are taken down. Very bad for the environment. Wetlands have been a natural defense against flooding, but the building of levees have destroyed many wetlands. If you read in the textbook, the city of New Orleans had large wetlands surrounding it, but they were removed to build levees, which led to, as we may or may not know, Hurricane Katrina, flooding the city of New Orleans. Overfishing has caused a concern as well. Wildlife has been affected by the growth across the continent. For example, in Canada, the wolf has been pushed back, leading to an overabundance of elk, which you might say, well, that's nice for the elk to have so many of them. But they destroy some natural resources, eat crops, can destroy homes and landscaping and yards, and just people can run into them on the road. And without the wolves there, they're able to run wild, whereas the wolves might be a natural defense and keep the population lower. The human impact. Humans have affected the North American continent with the rise of industry and push of westward expansion. Some of the impacts have been acid rain, smog, and water pollution. All three of these have a negative effect on the environment and have been very bad for the growth of our environment, and we are not doing enough to protect the environment, and it's been kind of a negative on the growth of the United States and Canada. Here we have talking about future challenges. We look at the different ways that the environment can be affected, and how it works together, how it all just is this circle that keeps us going. You see the types of environmental factors, you see the human factors, you see agriculture, you see the forest, the river, runoff, sewage plants. It's just all this interconnected way of living that we have to be proactive in keeping it going instead of reactive and or just doing nothing. So make sure you read chapter 7. It's a very short chapter, and complete your input-output. Shouldn't be too much longer. And we have a test on Thursday. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.